org.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So, okay, members of TWU Local 100, which represent the unionized New York City's mass transit workforce, are in the home stretch of their union election. Current TWU Local 100 president Richard Davis is in a three-way race with Mike Cordero and Evangeline Byars for the top union post. Evangeline Byars joins us now, and we have also extended an invitation to Mike Cordero and President Davis to come on to What's Going On and have conversations. Evangeline, thanks for coming on. Can you share a bit about your biography with us?
Yeah, so I've been working at the Transit Authority for about 8 years, and I've been a labor activist for I would say, about 15 years. Starting I got involved in activism while a student at Everest College, leading the Concerned Students of Everest College student movement, and it just morphed into so much more. But as an employee at New York City Transit, what led me to get involved with the union and become active is that the oppressive and the disenfranchisement of workers at New York City Transit.
So, my next question, I was going to say, what in your life experience do you think qualifies you to lead TWU Local 100?
Well, what in my life experience gives me the qualifications is one, that this is my life's work.
Mm,
Organizing, activism, pushing back against injustices, that's been my life's work. And so this falls right in the scope of things. But I've also served on the executive board of TWU Local 100. And that is where it gave me a broader look into what was going on at our union that was causing the transit authority to have such an advantage over us, and the things that we needed to do as a union to get back in shape, to become more of a militant fighting union once again, and to be able to push back against the practices at the MTA.
got it. Okay. So, the overwhelming majority of the city's MTA workforce is male.
Mhm.
I think I saw something like 18%. What are some of the challenges that women face in mass transit workplaces?
Yeah, so 18% of the MTA is female, are women. And the challenges that we face, one is just being seen and heard, and understanding for a lot of women, because of being single parents and other things, a lot of times we don't speak up, right? However, it is imperative that in this time, in this day and age, that we begin to be seen and take our rightful places in our union, because a woman's place is in her union, to take our rightful place, because we are becoming more and more of the workforce. And so the challenges that we face are, one is not being heard. We have just received reasonable accommodations for pregnant women.
Mm,
And that's still being denied at the MTA. We just, because of a grievance I filed in regard to New York State paid family leave, women this year, starting last year, just begin to get 12 weeks maternity leave. So women being at the table, having a voice is going to be a game changer.
okay. So, you said that was a grievance you filed.
Yes, I filed a grievance because the New York State paid family leave was not implemented. And because it was already agreed to by the Transit Authority, which is already a law, it should have just been implemented anyway.
Mm,
They went, and when I filed the grievance, instead of implementing New York State paid family leave, they just, in lieu of implementing the law to circumvent the law, they just went ahead and gave women 12 weeks maternity leave and men 4 weeks, which men and women both are supposed to get 12 weeks maternity leave. Well, it's called bonding under New York State paid family leave. You get 1 year to bond with your child, but it's supposed to be in 12 in increments of days or 12 weeks.
hmm I'm gonna go back to the first question because um, we asked, well, what qualifies you? But what role did you start in when you were hired?
A
What was
train
your job?
operator. I started
Okay.
out as a train operator, and I served on the executive board. But what got me involved is when I was in training at Transit to become a train operator, I was set up by a supervisor who said that I had crashed a train in a train yard, which I did not do. It was found that he set me up. He had my classmates write fraudulent statements against me. It was proven that I didn't do it. He was put out of the training class. He could no longer train us, but it basically helped me to understand what I was going to be dealing with in the MTA as far as corruption and dealing with, supervisors and management that were corrupt. And that has been the behavior and the practice of the transit authority even up until now.
Mm. Wow. Okay. So, just kind of pivoting a little bit, it seems a week doesn't go by that we don't hear about a bus operator or subway conductor getting assaulted. For example, according to the Brooklyn Eagle, according to police, a train conductor was beaten after telling a man to stop smoking marijuana. Can you talk about this troubling reality and, what can we attribute this to?
Well, what we contributed to is that our union is no longer a fighting union. I led a demonstration at the governor's office, at Governor Kathy Hochul's office, when the uptick in subway violence could no longer be ignored because of the fact we had another conductor, stabbed in the neck, um, and he was almost murdered uh, in the performance of his job duties. The railroad continued to run as usual, it had minor disruptions, and the transit authority ruled that it was a job action because people wanted to stay safe. So we led a demonstration outside of the governor's office, which led to her implementing the National Guard. However, that was just something to basically show that there needed to be more of a presence, that something needed to be done, but that wasn't the overall answer. And so what we have been doing is devising a plan, which is a multifaceted plan. It cannot just be more police in the subway, as a lot of these attacks are happening, which no one ever talks about, while the police are standing right there, or they're very close in proximity to our workers, which says that the police are not paying attention. They're not watching to make sure that transit workers are okay, which is why primarily they've been put in there. Yes, it's for the larger public, but it's to make sure that when we're exiting and entering our cabs, when we're walking through the trains, when we're in a vulnerable situation, that we are secure, because they now know that the likelihood of us being assaulted is imminent, right? It happens on a daily basis. Right now, women on the 7 line have been targeted and have been being robbed. Their doors kicked in, their keys snatched through the window, and robbed on the 7 line. And there's nothing being done to ensure that women are safe, one, but also that all workers are safe when it comes to the job.
This goes in conjunction with what we've heard the mayor talk about public safety being number one. So, if this is something that is very important to the workers, tell us a little bit more. How can we, or where's the support coming from in regards to public safety?
Well, we've been working along my team, which is the Stronger Together Slate. We work very closely with Passengers United. Passengers United is they basically advocate for subway safety, safe subways and buses, and they're an advocacy group for the riders. So we work closely with them because their issues are our issues. When we're being attacked, when they're being pushed on the train, when they're being sliced, stabbed, guns pulled on them, we're experiencing the exact same reality. And so that's who we've been working with. We've been also reached out to the mental health coalitions, right, to start to work on the fact that many of the people who are committing these crimes are severely mentally ill, which goes to the fact that we no longer have a mental health system that is adequate to be able to support that population. And so the reopening of mental health facilities throughout the hospitals in New York City and state is paramount in getting and being able to curb this, right? Because what we are finding that these individuals are severely mentally ill, and when they're arrested, they're released.
Hmm. Hmm. According to the city, uh, the subway conductor Garrett Goebel,
Mhm.
uh, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. Goebel was a subway conductor who was slashed in the neck at a Brooklyn station. And can you tell us a little bit about this situation, because this speaks to the dangers that are faced by transit workers um, who experience, like you said, your life is on the line.
Right. So Mr. Goebel actually he was the victim of a subway fire.
Hmm.
A fire that was set by an EDP, an emotionally disturbed individual, and he succumbed to smoke inhalation and died. We
Hmm.
have been advocating on behalf of him that everyone should be given masks so that so that we have at least 5 minutes of air in times of fire. Like that, after we evacuate everyone from the train, that we too can make it home to our families. Because if Mr. Garrett Goebel would have had a mask to like the fire department has to put on, he would be here with us today.
This is deep. Okay, so um,
The
you know,
gentleman that you mentioned who was stabbed,
yeah.
he's now home. But
Oh, okay.
the issue with him was similar to what we were just talking about, where he was cleaning out the train, and the person that was on the train stabbed him over 12 times. He was in critical condition. He was hospitalized for about 2 weeks, and then he was released. He's still recovering. And so he also is someone that now intricately knows what it means to be uh, stabbed.
Mm. As far as we are talking about public safety, but air quality is also, and health conditions are also an issue. Can you speak about, the ambient air quality, and also during COVID, what was that experience like uh, for workers?
So the air quality in the subway is horrible. Most of us develop some type of respiratory infection who work in the subways. Severe allergies, um, you know, respiratory infections happen often to those who become subway operators, track workers, those who are deep in the trenches of the subways. And it is something that our health and safety is something that has not been made a top priority by New York City Transit. There was just in the Queens corridor a situation where they found E. coli, staph, rubella in the subway station, and they had to shut it down at 169th Street. However, it was still open to the riding public. So, again, a part of fixing this plan is I'm going to have to work very, very closely with the writing public in order to help bring awareness. Because when it affects the writers, when it affects people taking the train, the subways, then the transit authority is a little bit more proactive. And so it's going to take us coming together and doing some coalition building in order to right that situation with the air quality. However, in COVID, it was even worse. They
Hmm.
did not implement the pandemic plan that they had. They were penalizing us and disciplining us for wearing masks, telling us we could not wear masks, only for us to be able to wear masks, right? We lost over 170 workers, not including family members. I think our family members are often left out of the equation in the count of how many people were lost. People lost their mothers, their fathers, their siblings, children to COVID, all because we were the epicenter of where the pandemic spread. And we took it home to our families and loved ones. I made my parents sick, and many other people infected their parents. I have coworkers call me from their deathbed and let me know that they were going to pass, they weren't going to make it, and to take care of their families. And so I think it's very important to understand that we still have not received justice. We still not have received compensation. We have sort of been glossed over. They did not treat this with the care and the dignity that should have been given to transit workers who suffered through the pandemic. It's just egregious the way the Transit Authority and TWU Local 100, the leadership of TWU Local 100, handled the pandemic.
I just want to give out the telephone number for anyone who has a question or comment. The number is 212-209-2877. That's 212-209-2877. We would love to hear from you. Evangeline, one question that I want to go back to, we were talking about, well, two things. We were talking about public safety and also health conditions. What about the grinding of steel, which creates dust? So it's steel and diesel dust. Is that also another health concern? And can you tell us about that? Because everybody may not know what that is.
Yes. So all of these things we have a training that is called Right to Know, which helps you to understand what all the particulates are that happen when you are dealing in the subway system. Steel dust, silica, and one of the things that are overlooked a lot of time is asbestos removal and silica dust. Silica is basically cement. If it gets into your lungs, it hardens and it's something that cannot be reversed. You would ultimately succumb to it and die. Right. And so the Transit Authority knows this. We had to basically, another thing that I worked on as far as rallying and bringing in the riding public to let them know that the Transit Authority was performing work that was unsafe and was exposing them to silica. And so it still is not something that has been made a top priority by the Transit Authority and ensuring, that the proper removal of silica, I mean, not removal, the proper safety practices are happening to ensure that when silica is in the air or when it's present, that that there's water present to wet down the area, that the fans are in place and different things in order to ensure our health and safety. So it's something that we do have to take more seriously. And again, it's going to take my team, the Stronger Together team, to come in and be able to turn this around. One of the reasons is that we really don't have a real safety team anymore at New York City Transit. And because we don't have a safety team that is constantly, surveilling the system, addressing safety concerns, the Transit Authority has been getting away with so much as it pertains to the health and safety of not only the workers, but the riding public as well.
Mm-hmm. And so, we're coming down to the end of this. We have about 5 minutes left, and there are a lot of things that I wanted to get to, but we kind of have been talking about the health and safety. One more thing in regards to the safety, is there anything that's being done by the MTA to protect members outside of more police? What happens to members if they protect themselves from an emotionally disturbed person?
Well, we find that the MTA is very heavy-handed towards people who are assaulted. If you defend yourself and you get the advantage a lot of time over your attacker, a lot of people are put up for dismissal. We've had people that have been terminated for defending themselves. The Transit Authority deems it excessive or that you didn't follow the proper protocol when you were being attacked. And because of that, a lot of people are disciplined because of it. Not only that, the controversion of their workers' comp claims, right? They basically controvert the claim, make them have to fight and go to court in order um, to prove that they were assaulted, even though they know that it occurred. They put the worker and the victim through a lot in order to just get the basic compensation and get the care they need. We have a gentleman, Mr. Isaac, who was stabbed in the face on his bus, and the person who stabbed him was released from jail because he didn't go before the grand jury in time, And as a result of that, he is now suing the transit authority as the victim, even though he almost killed Mr. Isaac. And so these are the things that we're confronted with day to day. There has been no public safety campaigns or anything to bring awareness to highlight how important our jobs are and how to keep us safe. And so, in all instances of safety, of how we're handled in the midst of the situation, is found unsatisfactory between the transit authority and the union to even enforce that the transit authority not come after us when we are assaulted in the performance of our job duties.
Evangeline, you want to take one call? We're coming down to the end. Would you like to
Okay.
take a call? Okay, great. So please tell us either your name, where you're calling from, or your question or comment.
Quick comment. Good morning. I didn't get to hear our title. However, I do work for Transit right here in Manhattan, and I just wanted to add and appreciate what she's putting out there in terms of the safety of the workers, as well as we need to push for that hazardous pay increase. It is absolutely necessary, in addition to increasing and putting informing the public with protest and handouts. I'm sorry, yeah, community handouts. Just speaking real fast. I just said, for example, but this absolutely has to happen, and this must start with us. That means our union has to stand up and start to push back, inform the public, and then the public will support us. Because as we are in danger, they are too. And they do come to us as they should when they need help with someone on the bus or the train acting irate or something. However, we can't help them, especially if our job and livelihoods will be put in jeopardy. Absolutely unacceptable. We got to get to this now. So thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you. I appreciate your sister, and I always appreciate WBAI. Be well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Evangeline, we thank you so much for joining us. We could really go deep into this because this is a New York conversation. There are so many of us who have had experiences traveling. And so there's so many different perspectives on this. In closing, what would you like to leave us with and share with us?
I want the transit workers and the riding public to understand that our safety is your safety, and that we have to get back to the days of where we have strong fighting militant unions. We're losing so much. Healthcare, health and safety is no longer a priority of the city and the state, and even a lot of our unions. And so it's time for us to have a resurgence of the labor movement, and I'm here for it and ready to lead the way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Evangeline
Thank you.
Byars. Yes, Evangeline Byars is for the top union posts of the TWU Local 100, which represents the unionized New York City's mass transit workforce. This is Keziah Glow. We have been in What's Going On, the Tuesday Peace and Labor Report of our Social Justice magazine. We are going to take a short break and we will be right back.